Hi you two, parents and carers. Welcome to our first video on supporting your child with addition at home. I'm going to go through the Maths National Curriculum and break up the following objectives to do with addition and subtraction across the following videos to show you how we use these statements to help teach your children in school. So children must solve problems with addition and subtraction using concrete objects, so physical objects in their hands that they can move around to help them add or subtract. Using pictorial representations, which simply means using pictures to help add, subtract, numbers and measures. Children must be able to recall and use addition and subtraction facts to 20 fluently and use related facts up to 100. Children should add and subtract numbers using concrete objects, pictorial representations and mentally, including a 2-digit number and ones, a 2-digit number and tens, 2 2-digit numbers and adding 3 1-digit numbers together. Children must be able to show that addition of two numbers can be done in any order, but that subtraction cannot. And lastly, they must be able to recognise and use the inverse relationship between addition and subtraction and use this to check calculation, as well as solve missing number problems. This video and the following 3 videos are going to be focused on these statements, these objectives, and how we can work with your children to make sure that they are solid in these areas of the Maths National Curriculum. In maths, we use a CPA approach. C stands for concrete. So when we teach a new concept, we often like to use objects, counters, different objects that children can actually move around and manipulate in their hands. We then move to pictures, so these might be pictures of the object. So for example, if a child has been adding with cubes, they might then add pictures of cubes. After children are solid in their pictorial or picture learning, we would then look at abstract learning, so using number lines and using more mental methods of calculation. So starting off then here, you can see these cubes are to do with concrete objects. So you can see that the child or the teacher with the child has actually got out the cubes and has written some number sentences to go with the cubes. So that is what we mean when we say concrete objects. This starts from reception and carries on into year 1 and can also be used in year 2 to help support and consolidate addition concepts before moving on. I'll just show you an example here. So here is a picture of some cubes. Your child might get out the cubes to show this picture, and we might write the number sentence to go with the number of cubes here. So we have 1 orange cube plus 3 purple cubes. And all together then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 cubes. Again, here are some different ways of showing concrete objects to work out different addition sentences. So we have counters to make number bonds to 10. We have Lego bricks to make number bonds to 10. We have hands where the fingers can flap up and down to use or make number bonds to 10. Again, we can use our own fingers for this, and you can see as well the cubes there at the bottom right. So these are different examples of concrete objects that we might use in school, and some that you could probably use at home as well, including toys, pasta, sweets, anything that the children can pick up and move around to help them with their counting. There is a separate video on part whole, but here you can see the circles that are drawn to represent part whole, and you can see physical cubes that a child has got out to show those numbers. So for example here, the child is showing different ways to add to make 5. So you can see that they have done 3 blue cubes and 2 yellow cubes, and those numbers are represented in the two parts. But remember, there is a separate video all about part whole to support you further with this. We then move on to picture representations then. So once the children are secure with moving around and counting and adding different objects, then we look at pictures and adding pictures of objects. So you can see here that a child might have this picture in their book and they would work on counting. So they've still got those pictures there to help them count. So for example, I have 3 red apples in my basket and 2 green apples in another basket. How many altogether? So we can start off with pictures of the object, the apples. Then we can look at colour coding, pictures of counters. And then we can show this representation in different ways. So there are different pictures there to show the same number sentence, 3 add 2 equals 5. So we would look at using lots of different pictures, lots of different ways of representing objects and addition in class. Again, here you can see I've got 3 red apples and 3 green apples. So I can write my number sentence, and now I'm going to count my pictures all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can fill in my part whole as well. So 6 is my whole number, that's my answer. And my 2 parts, my 2 numbers that I add together to make 6 are 3 and 3. Again, I have 5 pieces of chocolate here and 5 sweets. How many do I have all together? I can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 5 and 5 make 10. So here you can see I'm using pictures to help me add rather than moving real objects. We would then look at using a number line. So moving away from objects, moving away from pictures and looking more at the numbers. So let's have a look at some examples of how we would teach adding on a number line in year 2. The first one here you can see 9 add 4. I would start on the number 9 and I'm going to count on 4 jumps until I land on my answer. I only start counting once I've done my first jump. 1, 2, 3, 4. I started on 9. I made 4 jumps. I've landed on 13. It's very important to make sure that the children count on or jump on and then start their counting. Otherwise, they'll end up on the wrong number. So, for example, a lot of children start on 9 and say 1, 2, 3, 4, which you can see they've only actually made 3 jumps there and they would then end up on the wrong answer. 11 add 5, the second one then, starting on 11 and doing 5 jumps, so counting on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've landed on 16. 8 add 3, 1, 2, 3. I've landed on 11. With a question like the next one where it says 12 add 2, so that the children aren't having to do 2 add 12, so 12 jumps, that's a lot of jumps to do, I would start on the biggest number, on the number 12, and add 2 more. Because we know that addition can be taught, you can either do 2 add 12 or 12 add 2. They can be done in any order. So it just means we're doing less jumps. 1, 2. I've landed on 14. 10 add 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, you can see here 4 add 15. If I start on 4 and do 15 jumps, that's going to be a lot of jumps to do and I might get a bit confused. So I can start on the bigger number, 15, and I can do 4 jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the last one there, nice and easy, 16, add 1 more, gives me 17. So this is really the sort of next step. So moving away from pictures and looking at using the real numbers and getting us to count on. Then taking our learning into more mental methods, we might add using our fingers. So we're coming away from using lots of support and lots of tools to help us, but knowing that we can use our fingers and our heads to help us work out when adding. So for example, the top one would show us 5 add 5 because I've got 5 fingers on one hand, add another 5 fingers on the other hand, and that gives me 10 all together. The next picture you can see I have 3 fingers on one hand and 2 on the other hand. So I am showing with my fingers 3 add 2 equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all together. And you can see the picture of the small hands at the bottom there are showing 3 add 1. So I can get up my 3 fingers on one hand and 1 more finger gives me 4 all together. So using my fingers is a really helpful way of learning that I can work things out for myself and I don't need those pictures or objects anymore. Then we can move to working out more mentally by locking larger numbers that are above 10 in my head. Because I don't have 22 fingers, I can lock 22 in my head. I can get 4 fingers out, and just like I would do on a number line, starting from 22, I'm going to pinch each of my 4 fingers as I count on to the next numbers. So 22 in my head, pinch your finger, 23, 24, 25, 26. I'll show you on my fingers here. 22 locked in my head, 23, 24, 25, 26. So I can use my brain and my hands to count on. Again, 14 add 3. 14 is bigger than 10. I don't have 10 fingers. I don't have 14 fingers. So 14, lock 14 in my head, get my 3 fingers out, and I'm going to count on as I touch each finger. So 14 in my head, 15, 16, 17. So those are some more mental strategies to help us with our adding. Then we would look at using word problems as well with our addition. So we would use word problems with our concrete objects. We would use word problems with our pictures of objects. We would use word problems with our number lines, with our fingers, and with more mental methods as well. So we're really going to be getting used to reading and solving word problems as well. The way that we would teach these in school is to highlight any key numbers or key vocabulary as we're reading. So there are 4 birds in a tree and 3 more come along. How many birds are there altogether? So I have highlighted the number 4 and the number 3. I've highlighted the key vocabulary more and all together, because that shows me that we are adding, because I know when we add that the number gets bigger. Now I can write my number sentence, 4 add 3 equals, and I can work this out with my fingers. I can either show 4 fingers add 3 fingers and count them together, makes 7, or I can lock 4 in my head and add on 3 fingers. 4, 5, 6, 7. With addition, these are the different types of numbers that we are going to be looking at adding across year 2. So we will be looking at adding a 2-digit number, such as 14, and a 1-digit number. So my T and my 0 stands for tens and ones. So that's showing how many digits I've got. So my 2-digit numbers have tens and ones, but my 1-digit numbers only have ones. We will look at answering 2-digit numbers adding on 10, where only my tens column would change and my ones column would stay the same. We look at adding 2-digit numbers together, for example 14 and 22. And we also practice adding 3 1-digit numbers together. A little bit later on in year 2, when we are more confident with our addition, we would be looking to work on column addition. And this is generally when we have 2-digit numbers together, because we can use our tens and our ones to add our numbers. "14 add 22. You can see I've lined up my ones from both of my numbers in the ones column and my tens from both of my numbers in my tens column. I always start by adding the smallest unit or digits first, so I always add my ones column here. 4 add 2 is 6 and 1 add 2 is 3. So you can see as we're getting more confident with our adding and quicker with our adding, I can then start to add my 2-digit numbers in a column, and it becomes much quicker because of my mental ability to add those numbers together. Then we would look at adding 2-digit numbers together, where the ones will make a number that is larger or greater than 10. So we would need to regroup these numbers. So I will fill in my columns. I know that 6 and 5 makes 11, so I would put the 1 from 11 in the ones column and the 10, the other digit, in the tens column. And then I need to remember to add that on once I add my tens. So 1 add 2 is 3, and then I need to remember to add that last one there. So 3 add 1 more is 41. So by the end of year 2, children will be able to add using column method and column method with regrouping, which really means that the children can add any 2-digit numbers together. We also look at practicing number families so that children understand and know inside out that we can swap around any numbers in an addition sentence and they will give us the same answer. For example, 6 and 5 make 11, so 5 and 6 make 11. The answer 11 stays at the end, but I've swapped around my 2 numbers that I'm adding together. Again, you can see here, 5 and 3 make 8, and I can swap around my 2 numbers that I'm adding. 3 and 5 make 8. And the last one here, 11 and 7 make 18. I can swap them over. 7 and 11 make 18. And the answer will always stay the same because those two numbers will always create the same answer when added together. Again, these fact families help us with our subtraction again, and I will talk about these in our next video, which is on subtraction. Thank you so much for listening, and please, if you do have any questions regarding anything in the video, please do email myself or Mrs. Foreman. Thank you.